TV shows sometimes can be a really interesting thing, specifically if a specific TV show kind of piques your interest, specifically when it's on a topic that doesn't quite interest you as much. And that's kind of contradicting. I know what you're saying. Like, why would you watch a show on a topic that doesn't interest you as much? And I mean, I got a little bit interested when I heard that they were making a series about the shadowy part of the government that nobody talks about, but we see members of in Godzilla movies. And when they said that they were releasing a show about Monarch, which is this sort of like shadow government agency, you know, super top secret that covers and researches these giant monsters, I said to myself, why is this even being made? Because why would I be interested in this? Like, it makes no sense to me. Like, why would they make a show about Monarch? And it has nothing to do with these monsters. I mean, if we see one or two monsters the entire series, I doubt that'll happen, but hey, if we see one or two monsters, okay, whatever. And that was my thought going in. And I am happy to report that I was very wrong. So obviously, before I get into any more details, I may or may not spill out some spoilery things. I'm not going to spill out the entire show, but I am going to spill out some spoilery subjects, so I'm just giving you a nice little warning here that if I say something that is spoilery, I'm just letting you know. But before you blame me for saying anything spoilery, I'm just letting you know that I may say stuff that's spoilery throughout this video. Now that I got that out of the way, let's keep going. So I started watching Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, and right from the first episode, it kind of intrigued me, because for me, the worst part of every Godzilla movie or King Kong movie, I wouldn't even go to say that King Kong, Skull Island, that movie was not bad. That movie was pretty good, and the humans were actually quite interesting. Even though that universe is connected to this universe, just to let everybody know, that movie has a connection to this. But I think that the worst part of every Godzilla movie is typically the human story. The human story is typically the most boring part of any Godzilla movie. I really don't care. It's almost as if they put the humans there just to have words and say monologues and stuff like that. That is the worst part, for me, of any Godzilla movie. So when I went into this, I said, you know what, maybe they gave it a chance. And I'm honestly happy they did. They actually wrote a story into this show that is worthy of watching. You know, you see, man, main character of the show is Anna Sawai. If you're not familiar with Anna Sawai, she was in Shogun, which I still haven't watched yet. So this is kind of like my first major introduction to her work, and I think she's spectacular in this show. Absolutely spectacular. And she really does, you know, convey the emotions of someone who has to go through life knowing that she experienced Godzilla attacking San Francisco. And to be in that position of having experienced that and having lost her students, lost, people she cared about to this huge monster, is kind of like mind-boggling to her, because who would ever think that they would lose their life to this huge monster? And she does a fantastic acting job on this show. There's moments where when she's panicking, my heart was like beating a little faster than usual, because I was like in it. I felt that emotion, and I think she really conveyed throughout the series the emotions of someone that goes through that, the trauma that goes through that, and finding ways of kind of coping with that, and finding out that she had a brother, a half brother, and then ultimately finding out about her father and seeing, her father again. All these little details were intriguing to me from the very first episode on, because they actually took the time to tell a good human story. That's it. Honestly, they put effort into the human stories this time around. So, honestly, it's a great show due to just that fact. And I can't talk about this show without talking about the fact that we see Monarch in two different moments in time. We see them in the past and we see them in the present. And for me personally, I think it's such an interesting idea to have Wyatt Russell and Kurt Russell in the same show playing the same character from two different points in time. That is an incredible idea that I think no other studio has pulled off. I mean, I'm not aware of any show or movie that has taken two members of a family who happen to resemble each other and put them in the same project to play the same character from two different points in time. Please, if you know of any project that has happened in, please put it down in the comments below, because I want to know what other projects has that, and that would really intrigue me to maybe even see that, because they both do absolutely great jobs. I enjoyed the living heck out of seeing Wyatt Russell play, this character at an earlier point in time. For him, he's not a scientist, he's a soldier. He's there to, do and take orders and execute orders. That's what he is. He is a soldier. Now, the interesting part becomes with the people who surround him. He's surrounded by two people who are scientists, people who are actually great at what they do. And to see these things play out as they do are just mind-blowing, and seeing as time progresses and seeing him as an older person now with a different point of view on, these monsters. That's the beauty of this show, is that you get so invested in the human aspect of the show that the monsters just become like little cherries on top. Yes, you do see Godzilla. Yes, you do see at the very end of the show King Kong, which easily just sets up the next season, which we already know there will be a season 2. It was already announced. We already have the confirmation. Someone like Amber Midthunder is already going to be in that show. So I think this is going to be great. I think, Monarch is already going to grow in the next season. And I do believe that we're going to end up possibly finding a way of bringing back Kurt Russell. I don't think he died. At the end of this show, I don't think he died. I think he's there. He's still in, let's call it what it is, in Kong World, in King Kong's underworld. He's still there, living his life there. But I really do think it's interesting to see how time plays between those two worlds. We see a moment in time in which, most of the cast goes down, this portal. They go into this world. They're in there for about maybe, based on the show, like maybe 25 minutes. And when they come back, it's already 2 years later. Time moves very weirdly in the underworld, and I think that's really interesting. I love this, how things play out. And yeah, I really do think this show is fantastic. I think they cast the right people. I love seeing Japan in this show. I think they really did a great job of capturing places in Japan that, I would be very curious to go and explore at some point in my life and actually see. And I just think this is the first time that I'm watching a product that it has Godzilla in it. Godzilla pops up several times in this show, and I'm genuinely happy with how they handled the human aspect of this show. It allows me to be attached to these characters, something that has never happened in any other Godzilla project, honestly. Like, if all the humans in a Godzilla movie die, I'm more than like, okay, whatever, we're gonna continue having Godzilla on screen, big whoop. But this time around, I care for these characters. I don't want them to be killed by Godzilla. I don't want them to be killed by King Kong, you know. I don't want them to be killed by some kaiju. I care about them. So they succeeded. And I think that's where Monarch shines. So if you are the type of person who likes, you know, Godzilla and likes King Kong and wants to see them in another project, and at the same time want to build a connection with the characters that you see on screen, Monarch is the way to go, man. And I have to give my shoutouts to the people who are surrounding these major characters. You know, first person, Marie Yamamoto. Absolutely beautiful performance by her. She convinces me that she is a doctor. Whether I like to believe it or not, she just sounds and acts beautifully in this show. So, absolutely fantastic performance. Kiersey Clemens. We have seen her before in other projects as well, and she is great in this show. So much so that we sometimes question ourselves whether or not she's on our side or she's on, you know, an enemy's side. It's really interesting. Her approach to this character, her ability to kind of play this sort of double agent is very well played. So much so that you have to question yourself whether or not she's on the good side or on the bad side. Ren Watabe. Amazing performance. Having this sort of sibling connection, you know, working alongside Anna Sawai and having this sort of sibling connection over time. Fantastic, seeing that relationship flourish. Ren did a really good job at, you know, really conveying that sort of like, who are you kind of person. Like really kind of flustered at the idea that, you know, his father, which is also her father, would be this sort of double agent kind of person acting on behalf of two different families is really fantastic. He does a really great performance in this show. Anders Holm, Joe Tippett, honestly, great performers. These two are great performers. One obviously being from, you know, the modern day era, and the other one being the past version, who is absolutely incredible at the show. Another fantastic group of performers on this show. I just have nothing but praise to give to these two gentlemen and the rest of the cast. So if you were ever questioning yourself, should I watch Legacy of Monsters, aka just Monarch? We can just call it Monarch. Come on, like, you guys call it Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Monarch is just fine. If you were questioning yourself on whether or not you should watch Monarch, let this video right now be your sign to go and watch it, because it is 100% worth it. And if you want to be connected to the human characters in a project like this is the opportunity to do it. So go and watch Monarch. I highly, highly, highly recommend you go watch it, and I still can't wait for season 2. So like I say in all my videos, this is just my opinion. This is what I think, and I want to hear from you. What do you think? Do you think this is a good show? Do you think this is not a good show? If you haven't watched it, will you watch it after this, you know, my thoughts videos? Or will you not watch it after hearing me talk about this show? Do you have any interest in this show in any way, shape, or form? Do you think that season 2 is going to be better than season 1? Would you be more interested in a season 2 rather than watching season 1 just to see more monsters because they've already said that they're going to add more monsters. I don't know. I want to hear from you. And while you're down in the comments below, click the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified when new videos go live on this channel. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. And I'll see you in the next video.
Scrolling through YouTube, same old routine, then bam, movie savant, what a scene. Trivia bombshells dropping knowledge like rain. Forget the dishes, gotta watch it again. Movie buffs unite, savants to place. Subscribe and hit the bell, don't leave a trace. Next level knowledge keeps you in the loop. Savants got the scoop, ain't nothing to recoup.